If you like the idea of dividend stocks but hate the idea of waiting forever to get paid that very first dividend, then this series is for you.
Well, now hang on, there might be something to this.
Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it's your very first time here. My name is Troy, and in this series, I spent hours doing research to find the hidden gems of the dividend world so you don't have to. For example, this week there were 74 stocks that had an ex-dividend date between September 22nd and September 26th of 2025. 25 of those stocks show that they can not only pay, but also grow their dividend for at least 5 consecutive years, and only 6 of those stocks were able to make the risk of investing into individual stocks worth it by also outperforming the S&P 500 over a long period of time. I then took those 6 stocks and picked my 5 favorites to share with you guys today. Now, it's going to be very important that you guys watch this series the day it comes out, which is every single Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, because every single stock from today's list is going to have an ex-dividend date of this coming week, which simply put is the date you must own the stock before in order to get paid the next dividend from that company. Now, really quick, before we get to the good stuff, do me a favor and tap on that like button, as that tells YouTube that I'm doing good work over here. But now let's kick this week's list off with number 5, which is WR Berkeley, stock ticker WRB. Including today's video, this is now the 3rd time I've spoken about this stock in this series, including back-to-back selections. And if you go back to the very first time I spoke about this stock, which was in episode 119 or September 20th of 2024, WRB was at a share price of $57.45, and in the last year has outperformed the S&P 500 and brought back a total return of 31.69%. WRB is a quarterly payer in the financial sector, paying 36 cents per share per year with a forward dividend yield of 0.49%. WRB has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 23 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate sitting at 11.2%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 10.53%, and it's super sustainable because the payout ratio sits at just 7.63%. Now, at the time of recording, WR Berkeley was trading 3.35% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of September 22nd with a payout date of September 30th. And looking at this chart, it's going to show you what a single lump sum $10,000 investment would have turned into while only reinvesting dividends had you invested in this stock versus the S&P 500. You guys can see in the black font that WRB had a starting share price of $15.99 with an ending share price of $73.82. This is a total return of more than 470% or more than 19% per year, which leads to an outperformance of the S&P 500 of $17,262.65. Next up on this week's list, coming in at number 4, is Bank First National, stock ticker BFC. Including today's video, I've now spoken about this stock in this series 9 times, including 5 selections in a row. And if you go back to the very first time I ever talked about this stock, way back in episode 1, I don't really encourage you guys to go back and actually watch that because the editing was probably terrible, but that was back in June 17th of 2022. BFC had a share price of $73.66 and has been neck and neck with the market during this time, but is slightly underperforming to the tune of 21.44% average annual returns. BFC is a quarterly payer in the financial sector, paying $1.80 per share per year with a forward dividend yield of 1.41%. BFC has been paying and growing this dividend for the last 12 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate sitting at 26.24%, a 5-year dividend growth rate sitting at 16.95%, and a payout ratio of just 20.95%. Now, at the time of recording, Bank First National was trading 3.69% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of September 24th with a payout date of October 8th. And same chart here, you can see that BFC had a starting share price of $24.10, an ending share price of $127.70, leading to a total return of 537.97%, an average annual return over 20%, and an outperformance of the S&P 500 of 23,972.34. Next up on this week's list, coming in at number 3 with the bronze medal, is Curtiss Wright, stock ticker CW. Including today's video, this is now the 2nd time I've spoken about this stock in this series, including 1 selection in a row. And if you go back to the very first time I spoke about this one, which was in episode 145 or March 21st of 2025, CW was at a share price of $325.31, and in the past 6 or so months has crushed the S&P 500 to the tune of more than 56% in that super short time frame. So hopefully someone picked up on this one back in March. CW is a quarterly payer in the industrial sector, paying 96 cents per share per year with a forward dividend yield of just 0.19%. CW has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 9 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate sitting at 6.03%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 5.06%, but their payout ratio is very, very low at 6.82%. Now, at the time of recording, Curtiss Wright was trading 1.57% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of September 26th with a payout date of October 10th. And looking at their chart, you guys can see that 10 years ago, CW had a starting share price of $66.64. They have an ending share price as of the day of recording of $508.99. They have a total return of 704.05%, an average annual return over 23% per year over each of the last 10 years, which leads to an outperformance of the S&P 500 of $40,600.46. Really quick, before we get to the rest of the list, I want you guys to use that comment section down below the video, as it really helps with the algorithm. You guys can let me know what you think of the stocks on this week's list, whether you think some of them are great or some of them are trash. Let me know down below, or better yet, let me know if you happen to own any of these stocks from this week's list and how they're doing for you. But now, let's get to number 2. Next up on this week's list, coming in at number 2 with the silver medal, is Lam Research, stock ticker LRCX. Including today's video, I've now talked about this stock 12 times in this series, including 10 selections in a row. And if you go way back to the first time I spoke about it, which was in episode 13, or September 9th of 2022, LRCX had a share price of $45.08, and since then has outperformed the market to the tune of 168.69% total return, or nearly 39% per year. LRCX is a quarterly payer in the technology sector, paying $1.04 per share per year with a forward dividend yield of 0.89%. LRCX has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 11 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate sitting at 15.32%, a 5-year dividend growth rate of 14.87%, and a payout ratio of a bunch of twos, 22.22%. Now, at the time of recording, Lam Research was trading 0.46% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of September 24th with a payout date of October 15th. And checking out this chart, you guys can see that $10,000 investment 10 years ago, only reinvesting dividends since then, LRCX had a starting share price of $7.25. Their ending share price most recently was $116.96, which leads to a total return of 1,755.47% and nearly 34% average annual return, which leads to an outperformance of the S&P 500 of $145,749.89. With that last stock, you have to be wondering, Troy, what the heck could be better than that? Well, let me introduce you to the number 1 stock on this week's list, which is Broadcom, stock ticker AVGO. Including today's video, this is now the 13th time I've talked about this stock in this series, including 11 selections in a row. And if you go back to the very first time I spoke about this stock in this series, which was in episode 1 or July 17th of 2022, AVGO had a share price of just $49.87. And yes, these numbers are real. In just over 3 years, of course, AVGO has crushed the market, but it has a total return of 670.99%. Let's just call it 671%, and has returned an average of 87.8% per year in just the last 3 years. Broadcom is a quarterly payer in the technology sector, paying $2.36 per share per year with a forward dividend yield of 0.66%. Broadcom has been paying and growing its dividend for the last 16 years. They have a 3-year dividend growth rate sitting at 3.1%, a 5-year dividend growth rate sitting at 3.16%, and a payout ratio of 25.77%. Now, at the time of recording, Broadcom was trading 3.84% off of its 52-week high. It has an ex-dividend date of September 22nd with a payout date of September 30th. And checking out this chart, it's just ridiculous. 10 years ago, Broadcom was sitting at a measly $13.12 per share. Currently, they're sitting at a share price around $359.87 per share, which means their total return in just 10 years sits around 3,496.86%. 8%, or just a measly average of 43.07% per year, which leads to a kind of noticeable outperformance of the S&P 500 of about $319,869.20. Before you guys click off the video, 3 dates you must know. This video comes out on September 19th of 2025. The earliest ex-dividend date from any of the stocks I mentioned in today's video was September 22nd of 2025. Meaning, if you guys want to own any of these stocks and have the chance of getting the very next dividend, your decision's going to be due by the day this video comes out, September 19th, 2025, if any of these stocks caught your eye and you don't want to miss that very next dividend. With that being said, every ex-dividend date from last week's list has definitely already passed you by, but if you're still in the market for 5 other high-quality dividend stock ideas, you can check that video out right here. But until next time, see ya.